Alright YouTube, so today I thought we'd discuss the Walking Dead virus and its origins. The origins of the Walking Dead zombie virus are quite literally the biggest mystery in the entire series. Zombies are the driving force behind the series. I mean, it's in the damn title, and they are the main antagonists, even if we are dealing with people most of the time. The Walking Dead takes place essentially in like a parallel universe where the concept of a zombie doesn't actually exist. Yeah, it is in our world, but they didn't have zombie movies, zombie genres, nothing like that. Which is why when they first come across somebody who is dead but still walking towards them, they don't have the automatic instinct like we do to shoot them in the fucking head. We currently have 176 issues of the Walking Dead comic. We're coming up on the second half of Season 8 of the television show. And we're coming up on Season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead, and with all of this source material, we still do not have an origin of the virus. The most info we've ever gotten about the virus is at the end of Season 1, which is kind of sad to say when you think about it. The group travels to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, to see if they can find out anything, any info about this virus, because it was still pretty new at the time. They come across one guy still alive at the CDC, Dr. Edwin Jenner, who has been testing on the virus ever since the outbreak started. We learn from him that the virus invades the brain like meningitis, your adrenal glands hemorrhage, your brain goes into shutdown along with your major organs, and then you inevitably die. We then learn that it essentially restarts the brain stem, which is enough to get the people up and moving, or the dead people, I guess we should say, but you're never really alive. We also find out that the resurrection times vary depending on the person from as little as 3 minutes to a couple of days. Even with all this information, we still find out that Dr. Jenner doesn't even know what it is. It could be microbial, it could be viral, it could be parasitic, it could be fungal, or it could even be the wrath of God. The concept of it being a biblical plague essentially has been teased a bit with Fear the Walking Dead. One of our main characters, Travis, who is a former teacher, is talking to his class in like episode 1 about Jack London's To Build a Fire, which is a short story essentially about man versus nature, and he goes on to say that, nature always wins, and that's before the virus outbreak really happens on that show. So that can be viewed as a bit of foreshadowing to the potential that this is a Mother Nature versus man thing. Robert Kirkman has also joked about having aliens involved, but hopefully that stays a joke. But back to the main show and the main group. At the end of Season 1, Episode 6, Dr. Edwin Jenner whispers something in Rick's ear that we did not find out what it was until the end of Season 2. And what we learn is that everybody is infected with this virus.
At the CDC, Jenner told me, whatever it is, we all carry it.
However, we learn this information differently in the comics where Tyrese's daughter commits suicide but then turns into a walker, which of course the group pieces that together as everybody carrying the virus. Everybody already being infected tells us a little more about the virus and the zombies themselves, because in any other normal zombie medium, if you get bit by a zombie, scratched by a zombie, or whatever the case, that's whenever you turn. You're then infected, but everybody already has that, so a zombie bite in The Walking Dead isn't actually necessarily what kills you. What actually happens is when you get bit or scratched by a zombie, which we've never actually seen somebody die by a scratch in The Walking Dead, they are carrying all kinds of bacteria because they are dead and rotting. So if they bite you, that bite gets incredibly infected, and that's what ends up killing you. And as we've learned with the series, if somebody is bitten on like an arm or a leg and you amputate it quick enough, they actually survive because the infection never really gets a chance to spread. There's also this brief period where there's this like airborne like zombie flu virus thing. It was kind of interesting and different for the series. It actually affected the zombies because they were bleeding from the eyes and stuff. It killed off some of their pigs, and it affected most of the people in the prison. But a revelation like every single person in the world is infected with this virus is why I need an origin story. How is this even at all possible? The show and presumably the comics take place in modern times, so the show came out in 2010, so civilization has gone on to the year 2010, and this was never the case. People weren't just reanimating from the dead, so how is it at all possible that just out of nowhere, everybody in the world gets infected with this virus? That's why I need an explanation. Now, Robert Kirkman has told us that he knows what caused the Walking Dead zombie virus, and that he claims that it is a dumb origin, which I don't really think would be the case, because, why would you commit, your life to making the Walking Dead series, and then come up with a stupid origin story for it? And he also seems to think that scientists trying to work on a cure or finding the origin of the outbreak would be boring, but again, I don't think that's the case. The thing is, you can never really trust what Robert Kirkman says. He trolls the fans all the time, jokes about the series all the time. He's even teased, jokingly of course, that there might be an alien invasion in the series. So while he is the creator and he does know exactly what's going to happen all the time, you just can never really trust him. Now, at the beginning of 2017, the comic books took on a new arc called New World Order, where we come across a new civilization called the Commonwealth. We learned that the Commonwealth is essentially a regular city. They have around 50,000 people there, and they have sporting events like football, baseball, and all those things. They also have musicians. My hopes are that with the series taking this major step, this is the biggest group we've ever seen, 50,000 people, that we learn something about the origins of this virus. Because you gotta imagine, with this many people, this modern of a location in the zombie apocalypse, they have to know something. The name of the arc implies that things are going to change drastically because it's called New World Order. Who knows in what way? I hope we get an origin story potentially of it. I mean, we deserve that as fans, I think. As a fan of the series, I'm interested in how all of this shit fucking started. And it could be that these people are involved because they are like this huge, almost government-like location. So maybe they had a hand in starting it. And maybe that's why there's a huge population. Maybe that's why they're so protected, because they were the ones who started it. Me personally, as a fan, I don't really care if they go the route of finding a cure. If they do that, that's fine. I can accept it. But there's something I like about the dark inevitability that every single person will die and then turn into a walker. But again, if you are going to make a bold statement like every single person in the world just automatically has this virus out of nowhere, I need to know how the hell that happened. One way they could get around the virus is if newborns aren't actually infected, which we don't know if that's the case or not. In the comics, Rick's daughter Judith dies along with his wife Lori whenever the governor attacks the prison. But in the show, she is still very much alive, and of course Maggie herself is pregnant with Glenn's kid, which I believe in the comics she's already had the kid. In the show, we are building up to that. But the only way we're ever really going to know is if either in the comics or one of the shows, somebody at some point kills a newborn kid, and we see whether or not the kid reanimates. I highly doubt they'll ever show something like that on the television show, potentially in the comics. I just think at this point, as long as the series has been going on, we've been watching the show for almost 10 years, and the comics have been out since 2003, that we just kind of at some point need an origin story. As usual, my guys, let me know your thoughts below. What do you think? Do you think we'll ever get an origin story? Do you have a theory or an idea of what could have started this? Leave all your thoughts below in the comments as usual, and if you went on to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Grateful.
The day will come when you won't be.
Give me a smile, give me forever.